Howdy. Today we're going to talk about how to create any reality that you desire regardless of the external circumstances. Any life that you want, you can have it, but you have to know the steps, the process of creation. Now, the first understanding is a simple one, and that is we have to come to terms with the fact that energy is the force of creation. Energy is what gives life. If you look at the sun gives life to Earth. No sun, no Earth, no life. In fact, stars are the creative force of the entire universe. All matter, all objects are created by stars. The Earth is simply recycled star material. So not only does the sun literally give us life and warmth and heat, but stars also created the Earth from the very beginning. And stars are nothing but big balls of energy. Now, energy is also power. And so, to the degree in which we have the power to create is relative to the amount of energy that we have. If we lack energy, we lack the power to create anything. So the first and most important key is to begin valuing your energy above all else. Now, as it has been said many times before, where attention goes, energy flows. And so our mind is a tool to direct the flow of energy. So when you begin valuing your energy, you will become more and more aware of all the ways you are focusing your attention on all these different things. And if you are like anybody else, you probably focus on a lot of things that are unnecessary. I mean, I have personally never met anyone who isn't almost constantly focusing on crazy stuff, negativity, things that don't really matter. And it becomes abundantly clear as we become more aware of this knowledge of why most people aren't successful. Because not only is our world today set up to be very distracting, but in a lot of ways it's also fear-based. So not only is our attention scattered in all of these different directions, so we lose our power, we lose our creative ability, but then at the same time it's directed toward negativity. And so the things that we do create, the things that we do feed, are hurtful to us. Negative thoughts, negative emotions, fear, worry, anxiety. People do not understand that the entire quality of our life is determined by the quality of the things that we focus our attention on. And if you do nothing more but become aware of this, naturally, step by step, you will begin seeing how this relates to your own life. And when you catch yourself engaging in something that you don't want to experience, you can say, oh, I don't want to give my energy to that. That would be silly. But it's hard to get out of that animalistic mode of thinking because we are fundamentally in these animal bodies. So if you're somebody who has a lot of fear, for instance, it's going to take some time to train ourselves to let go of all that fear and understand that everything is always okay. And the reason it might not make sense for someone in this position is because they have all this data and all of these reasons why their fear is justified. No, I have to be afraid because then what if something bad happens? Well, you are feeding your energy to the worry that something bad will happen, ensuring that something bad will happen. Whatever you believe to be true will be true for you. So don't fall into Stockholm Syndrome, where you are justifying all the reasons to keep alive the thing that is killing you. Most of the negative things that we think about are nothing but imaginary evils. They're not real. But they become real when we believe them into existence. Because we are the creators of our reality. As we have established, we have the force of creation within us. You have a life force, or else you wouldn't be alive. So we are creating regardless of if we're conscious of it or not, because we're always focusing our attention on something. And the moment you become clear about the wide variety of things that you focus on, you will have no question why your life is exactly the way it is. And simply put, to the degree in which you are suffering is the degree in which you have been focusing on things that are negative. Simple as that. And so things that are negative are things that drain us of our life force, of our energy. Things that are positive are things that give us more energy in return. And things that are neutral neither give energy or take energy. And so know that this force of life, this energy, is the source of all the good feelings and all the wonderful things in our life. And this force of entropy, or chaos, or destruction, is the source of all suffering and pain. Now both forces are necessary, chaos and order, entropy and energy. And in order for life to sustain itself properly, these two forces need to be in balance. So negativity is not necessarily always negative, and positivity might not necessarily always just mean good. For example, there may be parts of you that need to change, that need to die, and that will be painful and that will cause suffering. But ultimately it is a good thing, because that is how growth happens. And perhaps at the same time, we could try and focus on the positive, but in truth really just be ignoring reality. But the way to determine whether something is positive or negative is by the way you feel afterwards. Because life is joy, when you engage in actions that take away this life, this energy, you lose a bit of that joy. And so, just the same as when you turn the lights off in a room, darkness fills that space. And so when you lose energy, entropy fills that space. And with entropy, or chaos, or death, comes suffering. And so to the degree in which you experience joy or suffering in this life is the balance or imbalance of life and death within you. And so if you are fully living when you are rooted in the present moment, the only place where life is, that is where you will experience the most joy, the most peace, the most happiness. And the more you stray from the present moment, the more you get caught in your mind, in the past, and the future, is the more you will be separated from this life, this joy, and experience hell and suffering and pain. And by tapping in to your emotional guidance system, which tells you the quality of your current state of being, it's like your compass. When we tap in and become aware of how we feel at any given moment, we know what path we're on. We can see what actions have a negative impact over our life and which ones have a positive impact. Because the more you are aligned with life, the more joy you will feel. And the more you are separated from that life, the more suffering you will experience. So things that create suffering, actions or thoughts, you can say, once you are aware of them, I don't want to give my energy down this path anymore. It doesn't even make sense. When you are in touch with the joy of being, of life, everything that takes away from that becomes immediately unfavorable. Addictions, thought patterns, ways of speaking, self-destructive behavior, these things will eventually fall away naturally, because it is in being in touch with the present moment, with life, in which true satisfaction is found, true happiness, true peace, true joy. And when you're feeling good all the time, you wouldn't go out of your way to make yourself not feel good. And the contrast becomes more and more apparent more and more painful. And so we begin to navigate this life with a greater flow. It becomes like a dance where we kind of poke our heads out in this direction and see, oh, do I want to go this way or do I want to go this way? Where's the joy at? This is why Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. Because in following this joy, you are being led through the flow of life and not separated from it. Whereas most people are operating from their mind, and so sometimes they're in the flow, sometimes they're cut off. It takes wisdom to point this tool in the right direction. And before people learn that wisdom, they often do a lot of damage in the world, in life. But you see, it's not as simple as being able to point this tool wherever we want. Because the fact is that our body is designed to preserve resources, and this brain takes up a lot of resources, a lot of juice. And so we have a selective focus that has to block out 99% of all of reality. And we are only allowed to focus on the 1% that is relevant to us. And the content that we focus on is directly related to our unconscious identity and our conscious identity. Our unconscious identity is the intelligence of our body, and our conscious identity is who we believe ourselves to be, a construct in the mind, or the ego. And so no matter what, we will always be limited to our unconscious identity. There's this thing called cognitive dissonance where we want a certain reality. We have this desire that we really want, but when we go out and try and get it, we self-sabotage ourselves. We engage in actions that are contrary to our beliefs or our values or our morals. But why is this? Why would we destroy ourselves like this? And it's because, well, think about it in the terms of the elephant and the elephant rider. The elephant is in charge. The elephant is our unconscious body. So fundamentally, it does whatever it wants. The human is tiny. But because the human has an intelligent mind, it has the power to control and direct this elephant and we can get it to go where we want it to go. But cognitive dissonance and self-sabotage is not training the elephant, but trying to get it to go in a different direction than the direction it's always already going. And so we're like riding on the elephant, no, I don't want to go this way. But we go that way. And generally speaking, there's nothing that we can do about it in that moment, of course. So for example, if you have low self-esteem in life, you will always selectively focus and find information that reaffirms that sense of low self-esteem, that reaffirms that identity. But if you get on self-improvement and your conscious mind says, no, we got to do something about this, we got to change, we got to do better. See, your unconscious mind has already been rooted in low self-esteem. And when your conscious mind was in harmony with this, life was in equilibrium. Your body believes that you are safe. You are where you're supposed to be, even if this means you're in hell. But when you try and separate from this kind of default state, there's going to be tension and discomfort. And you may be able to get out far and far and far, but the gravity of the default state will always cause you to return to equilibrium. That is self-sabotage. Think about it like a rubber band, for instance. There's this unconscious attachment on one end. I wish I had a rubber band, but I don't. And here you are, the conscious mind, trying to escape. And you can escape and you can escape, but no matter what you do, you're always going to whip back to the default attachment. Which is why a lot of the times when we escape, from certain behaviors for a certain amount of time, we often relapse worse than we've ever done before. Because there's this violent snapback effect. There's this energy that has been created from our resistance or trying to escape. So how do we solve this? What do we do? Well, I'll tell you what we do. With the elephant. Discipline. Actually, there's two methods, but one ultimate outcome. Two rivers to the same ocean. And so, if we want to change where we focus our attention so we can change the flow of energy, so we can begin creating a better life for ourselves, we have to use our conscious mind to tell the unconscious mind the new direction that we want to go down. But first we have to understand how the conscious mind and the unconscious mind communicate. They speak different languages. And so the mind interprets information in the form of patterns. Patterns as experiences out in the world, or patterns as thoughts or images in the mind. These patterns are then translated into electrical impulses in the brain. And I'm not a scientist, so there may be room for improvement of this understanding. But as far as I can tell, the electrical impulse goes down into the body and triggers a chemical reaction in which we experience as an emotion. And so throughout our lives, with every emotion that we experience, good or bad, our body is taking note. The combination of the pattern and the emotion that is paired with it gets stored as information in our body. Our body is designed to keep us alive, and so it needs to understand where we are in the world in order to best serve our survival. And out of all the emotions that we experience with those paired patterns, the unconscious creates our unconscious identity, a picture of who we are and where we're at in the world. Take a common example with finances or money. Whenever the pattern of money comes up in your mind, pay attention to how you feel. You will soon realize whether or not you have a negative identity or a positive identity associated with money. Because what will happen is perhaps thoughts will begin arising, and the nature of the thoughts will begin creating emotional reactions. So if when you think of money, the first thing you think of is bills, or you feel fear, or you get a bit anxious, or there's worry, or there's any negativity at all, negative thoughts or negative feelings, simple as that. Your machine, your body, is screwing you over. Now in the jungle, what it's doing is keeping you alive, but we don't really live in the jungle anymore. So what it has done is it is keeping you focused on scarcity, because it believes you to be an animal in which scarcity is the reality that you live in. And this unconscious negative identity will only allow you to focus on scarcity when it comes to money. And so you will constantly reinforce that reality with your energy, and that is how people stay broke their whole life. That is how people never stop having problems with money. And you may have had a bad Christmas when you were, 6 years old, where you saw your parents worry with money, and that instilled a deep fear in you. Or maybe you didn't have enough food to eat a few times. This information, these emotions, a lot of it we gather in childhood. And so in our adult life, we have to kind of unravel ourselves and fix what has been traumatized. Counter this example with somebody who is born rich, which a lot of look at the statistic. One study says 50% of ultra-wealthy have inherited their money or had an affluent upbringing. And one says 88% of all millionaires are self-made. So it's probably that the super, super rich get super, super more rich, and that everybody has the ability to become rich. But you see the contrast from the previous example. When you are born into abundance, abundance is all you see. Your body says, this person is at the top of the food chain, so there is no fear or no worry or no reason to focus on scarcity. This is why in the Bible it is said that to those who have less, everything will be taken, and to those who have more, everything will be added on to them. Because there's this compounding effect from your focus, your attention, in which the more you focus on negativity, the more you fall down a black hole in which you can never escape. And the more you focus on what is positive, you are shot into an upward spiral in which you are showered with more and more abundance. The only difference between a billionaire and a homeless person is their identity, because their identity chooses them to focus on different things, flowing the force of creation down different paths and creating a different reality. That is all. That is what determines a serial killer from a priest, a president from a stripper. As I said, the entire quality of our life is determined by the things we focus our attention on. And so there are two, and so as I mentioned earlier, the two rivers. River 1 is called the path of discipline, in which you do things that are difficult, and through these experiences you have different emotions. When you have different emotions, you change your unconscious identity, because that is the way the body communicates. So for instance, if you are broke and there's a lot of negative attachments to money, you can grind yourself to becoming a millionaire. Because when you work and you work and you work and you work, your mind is focused on money. And even though in the beginning there was a negative attachment, there was a negative emotion associated with money, you have changed your story from I'm a broke person to I'm getting my stuff together, or I'm making money, or I'm growing. And so through these experiences of working, you get positive emotions from your accomplishments along the way. And your body begins to see, this person has begun to change. They're no longer in this other reality that I previously thought they were in. And so you go from broke to working on it to not broke. And through that journey, through all of those experiences, you recondition your body to have a different emotional reaction or relationship to money. That is how most people change their identity. It's kind of like the conscious mind or the elephant rider just kind of brute forcing the elephant along. Just saying, like, taking the reins and just like saying, no, we're going this way. It's the art of forcing. You force yourself to do the difficult things, even when you don't want to. And that is the hard way, the hard river, the difficult river path. But the easy river, and which is nice and relaxing, in this way we use the power of our imagination to change our identity without any action. You might call this the path of least resistance. And so as I briefly mentioned, patterns can be experienced in the outer world or in our mind as images or thoughts. And the body can't tell the difference, because in truth this is all one reality. So there really is no difference. It's just the outer world is operating at a much slower vibration than the one in our mind. So in our mind, like for instance in the dream state, things are changing all the time. The structure of reality is always moving around and acting weird. But in this world, things are moving slow enough for things to have some concreteness to it. So everything is moving really, really slow. So then rather than working with our bodies in the physical world to try and force our reality to be the way we want it to, we can tap into the infinite source of creation, the eternal realm, which is the realm of infinite potential, and we can bring it down to the world of actuality. And it is quite simple. So you see, all we have to do is take a pattern, any pattern. Let's say money. Neville Goddard put it in a simple way where you just visualize like a 3 to 5 second mind movie. Something that represents your desired reality or your desired outcome has been fulfilled. It's called living in the wish fulfilled. But to put it simply, you think about money, and you think about it, and you think about it, and you think about it, and you become aware of your emotions. Then you consciously implant positive thoughts about money. This is in attempts to begin allowing positive emotions about money. Usually this is done before bed. And so if you can successfully pair this pattern with a positive emotion, so say finances and positivity, and you can go to sleep with this, you consciously reprogram your body almost overnight without having to spend a long time manually reprogramming your unconscious mind through your experiences and your emotions. What I found for myself is that sometimes it's difficult to hold a visualization in the mind, and so this takes practice. But what happens the moment you successfully reprogram the unconscious mind is that almost immediately your attention will change its focus. In the case of money, you will begin seeing ways that you've never seen before of how to make money or how you can receive money into your life. And I would say just simply work at it until when you have thoughts about money, it's always positive. And that is probably how you know for sure that this unconscious identity has changed. The way that I've approached this is that I usually meditate myself awake in the morning. So for me, I'm kind of resonating in consciousness, in this creative force, this energy, in theta brainwave state. And so here, I just flood my mind with positive affirmations about the things that I want and allow visuals to enter my mind, and then pay attention to how I feel, and then try to cultivate positive emotions, positive reactions to these patterns. It is only in the theta state and lower in which we can most easily and successfully reprogram our unconscious mind. It can also be done in the alpha state, but as the mind increases in brainwave frequency, we become more and more separated. The conscious mind takes over. And so in the lower brainwave frequencies, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind begin merging and melting back together. And so this is why during the day when you go and say affirmations in the mirror, it really doesn't work all that well. Because if there's no emotion attached to it, it doesn't mean anything. And this is a very good thing, because if every thought produced a strong emotional reaction, we would be screwed. And so the key is from now on, never emotionally react to a pattern that you do not want to experience. And consciously cultivate positive emotions to patterns that you would like repeated. Or visualize your desired reality and imagine yourself there already, to get your body to believe that is your current reality. So if you are broke, you go into meditation and you cut out all of the world, all of your life situation, and you imagine yourself as not being broke. And you replay that over and over and over again until your body believes it. And so the point is that when you ignore the outer reality and focus within, you are entering into a new reality. And the body will believe that is the new reality in which you are existing. And so if you can hold your attention and focus on what is positive and take away your attention from what is negative, to let go of the fear and the worry, this is not necessarily an easy journey, because you have to come to understand that everything is always okay. that you're exactly where you need to be, that life takes care of life, and that the only thing that separates us from the life that we desire is our own tendency to focus on what is negative. It is our own fear, it is our own mind that separates us from this life, because this life is the force that has already created the entire cosmos and all the different dimensions and multiverses and whatever there is out there. It has already done this without any effort from us. And for some reason, human beings come along and say, yes, I got to get my stuff together. I got to get my life together. I got to get things done. I got to be the one to do all these things. When in reality, life has already been doing everything since the very beginning. We just have to direct the flow of life down the path that we want. And because we are operating in these animalistic bodies, we have to learn to master our body, our emotions, learn how to reprogram our unconscious mind so that we naturally focus on what we want. And remember, anything that we have an emotional reaction to, we reinforce that reality within. And so, for instance, if you experience an unexpected bill in the mail and you open it up and you have a negative reaction, a negative feeling, and then you start ruminating, oh my God, how am I supposed to pay this? What am I going to do? You have just reinforced your current reality that is unfavorable. You can see how this can be difficult because you might say, well, how could I do anything otherwise? This is the facts of my reality. And I would say that I highly doubt that any single person on the planet is capable of even experiencing 2% of the truth of reality. That we do not experience reality as it is, but we experience reality as we are. And the moment we change, our reality changes. It is only because you have lost connection to this divine power within you that you allow fear into your life. Because if you had God as a partner with you in every situation that you encountered, how could you have fear? How could you have worry? Everything that happens, you know, would be taken care of. And that is the true nature of reality. But because we have become separated, caught in this illusion, we do not live that way. We live in an animal kingdom of scarcity where we have to fight to survive. And sometimes that means killing other people and stealing and doing whatever means necessary to get ours. And it is precisely this unconsciousness that is responsible for all of the suffering in the world. And it is only when we wake up, when we awaken to our true nature, this divine creative force that we all have, that we all are we able to become conscious creators of our reality. This is a journey of self-mastery, mastering this body, mastering this mind, mastering life.